For my project, I had my students create a dinner menu for their pretend dinner party. They loved this activity, and it was really fun to watch them get so into it. Um, they had a $50 budget, and we used Lowe's Foods website. We chose that one because decently priced, and a lot of our students shop there with their families. So it was relatable to them. And they had a $50 budget. They had to pick a main dish, 2 side dishes, and a dessert. And they needed to make sure that they stayed in their budget. So this really, really, really helped them relate this to the real world. All the time, my students ask me how they're going to use this in real life or why do they need to know this. So to prove to them and show them, hey, we do this in the real world every week. It really kind of stuck with some of them because they know that they'll be using it. So they needed to use pretty much every decimal operation, which also was just a nice kind of review and putting it all together, seeing how it's not just add, subtract, multiply, divide one at a time. They are doing it all. So they had to find an item, in which they thoroughly enjoyed. They made up their own meals and had a whole theme for their dinner parties. It was really, really cute to see. But once they picked their items, they had to figure out the price, how much it would cost for the entire item or how many pounds they got of the meat or whatever item they chose. And then they had to figure out how much it would cost per person. So they had to divide. They had to multiply if they were buying multiple pounds of something. And they also had to keep in mind how much food they would actually need for 8 guests. So you can't just buy one piece of bread and think that that will feed everybody. But they needed to use a lot of real life skills here. And then they would add up all of their totals of each item and see if it stayed in their budget. Now, if it didn't, they would have to go back and pick a different item, which some of my students wanted to get fancy and get these nice steaks or lobsters and things, and that just wasn't going to cut it because they didn't have the money for that. So it was a really good kind of life lesson to show them groceries are expensive, and you need to keep that in mind when shopping. And they also got to use every operation to make sure, with their decimals, to make sure that it worked out to be $50 or less. So answering the questions on it, doing the math for it, it really reinforced all of the skills and putting it all together. And they really, really enjoyed this. I definitely want to do this again. And then at the end of every class, we did 2 days of this because they really, really wanted some time to pick out their items. But at the end of every class, they got to present a little slideshow with it, and they had a picture of the food item that they picked, and they explained to me and to the class how much money they spent on each item and what went wrong if things went wrong, and what they had to pick a different food item if it was too expensive. So all in all, I think it was a very good project, and I really, really like how it hit home with the real world examples. This was very easy to explain to them. This is what we do in real life. So I definitely would love to do this project again.